In this movie, an entire country gets evacuated in under 48 hours. Not a city, not a region. An entire country, 70 million people, told to grab what they can and run south or die. And the terrifying part isn't the ice. It isn't the floods. It isn't the freezing temperatures that drop to -40 overnight. The terrifying part is that one man tried to stop all of it. He had the evidence. He stood in front of the people who had the power to act, and they did absolutely nothing. This is the story of Ice, a disaster movie that didn't imagine a future we couldn't recognize. It imagined a future we were already building, one bad decision at a time. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how the world ends, and why the scariest villain in this story isn't a monster, a meteor, or a virus. It's a boardroom. Before we get into the chaos, you need to understand the world this story takes place in, because the movie doesn't drop you into a post-apocalyptic wasteland right away. It does something much more unsettling. It drops you into a world that looks almost exactly like ours. The year is 2020, and things are bad, but they're the kind of bad that people have learned to live with. Global warming has crossed the point of no return. Huge parts of southern Europe, countries like Italy and Spain, have turned into deserts. The droughts came first, then the food ran out, then the water, then the riots, then the borders closed. Millions of climate refugees are now wandering north, looking for any country that will take them in. The United Kingdom has already shut its borders. Immigration police, called the INP, are everywhere. Non-nationals are being tracked, detained, and deported. There are even whispers of microchipping foreigners at ports of entry. The film shows us this world in quiet, chilling detail, not through explosions, but through checkpoints, paperwork, and tired faces in detention centers. And underneath all of this, there is one crisis that's driving every decision every government is making. Energy. Fossil fuels are nearly gone. All reserves are reportedly at critical levels. Several countries have already begun rationing energy supplies. Hospitals and emergency services are barely keeping the lights on. The price of oil has hit an all-time high, and people across America are rioting in the streets over the cost of food and fuel. The world is desperate for a solution, and one company thinks it has found one. That company is Halo Oil. Halo Oil has secured a license from an international body called the Polar Alliance to drill in the Arctic, right near the edge of the Greenland ice sheet. Their chief executive, Anthony Kavanagh, is the face of responsible drilling. He's a two-time winner of environmental awards. He gives speeches about sustainability. He talks about green credentials. He is very, very good at looking like one of the good guys. And then there's Tom Archer. Tom Archer is a climate scientist. He's published books. He's written briefs for government ministers. He spent his career warning anyone who will listen that the Arctic is not a place you drill for oil, not because it's difficult, not because it's dangerous, but because if something goes wrong up there, if the wrong thing breaks in the wrong place, the consequences won't just be bad, they'll be biblical. Tom isn't some fringe conspiracy theorist. He's the real deal, and he's terrified. Because he thinks Halo Oil is about to break exactly the wrong thing. At this point in the story, we also meet Tom's family, and they matter, because this film isn't just a disaster movie. It's a family movie wearing a disaster movie's clothes. His wife Jacqueline, who goes by Jack, is American. She and Tom have been dragging their teenage daughter Millie across the world for years, New York, London, wherever Tom's work took them. Millie is 16, sharp, furious, and completely done with her father's obsession. She has a life, she has friends, she has plans for the summer, and once again, Tom is about to blow all of that up. His father Stephen, Millie's grandfather, is a quietly wonderful old man who lives in the English countryside. He grows vines on his property, a habit Tom apparently picked up in his student days. Everyone thought it was mad at the time. Now, with the climate the way it is, it turns out Tom was right 20 years before anyone caught up with him. Stephen and Millie adore each other. Jack is warm and steady. And Tom, despite being brilliant and passionate, is the kind of man who misses his daughter's 16th birthday because he's chasing evidence in the Arctic. That tension is going to matter a lot before this story is over. But right now, Tom has more pressing things on his mind, because a friend of his has called from the Arctic, and what he found up there is worse than anything Tom feared. Tom's friend is a man named Ben Jameson. Ben works for Halo's conservation unit, technically employed by the company to monitor their environmental impact. In practice, Ben is deeply uncomfortable with what he's been seeing, and recently he's found something out on the sea ice that he can't explain away. He convinces Tom to come to the Arctic. What Tom sees when he gets there changes everything. Ben takes him out onto the ice sheet and uses a camera probe to look underneath the glacier. What they find are rivers of meltwater flowing under the Greenland ice sheet, not just surface melting, subsurface melting, the kind that means the sea ice, the frozen base that holds the entire Greenland glacier in place, is collapsing from below. Tom immediately understands what this means, and it's not just bad, it's catastrophic. Here's the science, as simply as I can put it. The Greenland glacier is one of the largest bodies of fresh water on Earth. It sits on top of the sea ice. If the sea ice melts, there's nothing supporting the glacier, and when the glacier collapses, it dumps billions of liters of fresh water directly into the Atlantic Ocean. That much fresh water, all at once, would desalinate the Atlantic. It would dilute the salt concentration so dramatically that it would disrupt the ocean's natural circulation system. The most critical part of that system is the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is the current of warm water that flows from the tropics up to the North Atlantic. It's the reason Britain and Northern Europe have mild winters instead of frozen tundra. If the Gulf Stream shuts down, and a massive freshwater dump into the Atlantic could absolutely shut it down, the entire Northern Hemisphere loses its central heating system. Temperatures don't just drop, they plummet, potentially to -40 degrees, permanently. A new ice age, not in 10,000 years, in days. Tom needs to take this evidence to the Polar Alliance. They have the authority to revoke Halo's drilling license. They can shut this down. But here's the first big problem. While Tom and Ben are out on the ice, something happens. The ice shifts. There's a glacial earthquake, a tremor strong enough to crack the surface beneath their feet. Tom nearly falls into the ice. Ben saves him. They barely make it back. And when Tom brings his evidence to the Polar Alliance hearing, he's up against two immovable forces. The first is Sarah Fitch. Sarah is Halo's senior legal representative, described in the film as being like a Rottweiler with lip gloss. She's brilliant, ruthless, and very well prepared. She quotes Tom's own book back at him. She points out that glacial change is natural. She argues that the meltwater images prove nothing definitive about the cause. She questions whether any of this is actually new information. She is not wrong about any of it, technically. But she is missing the point entirely, deliberately. The second force is Simon Peterson, the chairman of the Polar Alliance and also, crucially, the Minister for the Environment in the British government. Simon is Tom's friend. They go back years, but Simon is also a man trapped between what is right and what is politically possible. He needs more than passion and instinct. He needs irrefutable evidence. And right now, Tom doesn't quite have it. The hearing goes badly. The Polar Alliance renews Halo's drilling license. Tom quits. He resigns from the Polar Alliance and flies back to New York, where Jack and Millie are waiting. He's exhausted. He's defeated. He tells Jack he feels like everything he's done, every month away from home, every sacrifice, every argument has been for nothing. But before he can even finish that sentence, his phone rings. It's Ben, still in the Arctic. His voice is breaking up, the signal is terrible, but the message is urgent. Ben has found the evidence, real evidence, the kind that would shut Halo down in an instant. He needs Tom to meet him at a specific location. He gives coordinates in a strange, coded way, the 82nd floor of the North Building on Ellsworth Street East, 14 minutes. Tom doesn't understand it at first, but Jack does. She plays the message back. 82nd floor, Ellsworth Street, North Building, 14 minutes. These aren't building directions, they're map coordinates. North 82, East 14. It's a location on the ice, about 10 miles from where Halo's rig is operating. Tom has to go back. He doesn't want to, he's quit. He has no official standing. He's supposed to be in England for Millie's birthday, but Jack looks at him and says something that cuts right through every excuse. This isn't who you are. He goes back. When Tom arrives at the rig, it's awkward to put it mildly. He's the man who just tried to shut the whole operation down. The crew aren't exactly thrilled to see him. Sarah Fitch is already there. Kavanagh sent her ahead after hearing there'd been a blowout at the rig. And that blowout is the second big warning sign. The official story is that it was a minor gas pocket. Routine, nothing to worry about. But the men who were there, including a medic named Harold who's currently in the med bay with burns on his body, tell a very different story. Harold describes the drill hitting superheated water. Not gas, water, 100 feet below the seabed, pressurized and boiling. Harold has sulfur dioxide burns. You don't get those from a routine gas pocket. Sarah is starting to get uncomfortable. She's a legal professional, not a true believer. She knows the difference between spin and outright cover-up, and this is starting to feel like a cover-up. Meanwhile, Tom is trying to find Ben. Ben is out on the ice. No one knows exactly where. He left that morning without filing a route map. The other members of the conservation unit, led by a man named Tannick who is absolutely on Kavanagh's payroll, aren't particularly helpful. but one of the other conservation unit members, a young woman who is clearly more conflicted than her colleagues, gives Tom a small amount of useful information. Tom uses the coordinates from Ben's coded message to navigate out onto the ice alone. What he finds is not Ben alive and waiting with evidence. He finds Ben dead. Ben has apparently been taken by a polar bear, that's the official explanation, but Tom doesn't believe it for a second. Ben was an experienced Arctic researcher. He knew how to handle himself on the ice, and the timing is far too convenient. What Tom does find, near where Ben's body was discovered, is something Ben had hidden. A small sample in a specimen jar, and when Tom brings it back to the rig, he's eventually forced into an uneasy alliance with Sarah Fitch to figure out what it is. Sarah has the scientific knowledge to identify it. Tom has the context. Together, they piece it together. The sample contains archaea, microorganisms that thrive in extremely high water temperatures. They absolutely should not be in Arctic Ocean water. The Arctic Ocean is cold, except that it isn't anymore. Not here, not in this area, not since Halos started drilling. Because what Halos drill has done, what that blowout was screaming at them to recognize, is open up a hydrothermal vent. A crack in the ocean floor where superheated water from deep inside the Earth is now being forced upward into the Arctic Ocean, constantly, uncontrollably, and the heat from that vent is melting the sea ice from underneath. This is the proof. This is what Ben died finding. Tom and Sarah look at each other and both understand what has to happen now. They need images. They need to get out onto the ice, document the vent visually, and bring everything to the Polar Alliance before it's too late. They don't particularly like each other, but they agree. The clock is ticking. Tom gets a brief call home. Jack sounds tired. Millie's birthday is tomorrow. He won't make it. He promises one more day. Just one more day. He says he loves them. Jack, who has heard this before, tells him she hopes it's worth it. He doesn't know yet whether it will be. Tom and Sarah go out onto the ice. What they find at the coordinates is extraordinary and horrifying. The sea ice is fractured. Underneath, they can see the superheated water rising. The archaea are everywhere. The melt is accelerating. It's already far worse than the satellite images suggested. This isn't a warning sign. This is already happening. But the Arctic doesn't care about their schedule. The ice gives way. Tom and Sarah fall through. They're trapped underneath in a cavity below the ice sheet, filling slowly with water. The cold is immediate and savage. The communications equipment is damaged. No one on the rig can hear them. They have maybe minutes before the water rises to fatal levels or hypothermia takes over. And here, in the middle of the film's most dangerous moment, Tom and Sarah have to make a decision that is genuinely terrifying. There's a melt hole, a gap in the ice above them, maybe 10 meters up, accessible only by swimming through the freezing water. It's their only way out. The water won't be completely frozen, which gives them a chance. A small one, but a chance. They go for it. They make it, barely. They surface on the ice, gasping, soaked, already starting to freeze. They survive, rescued by the rig's transport crew after hours of searching. The frostbite is serious. Sarah may lose fingers, but they're alive. And they have the evidence. But they're about to discover that having the evidence doesn't mean anything if the people in charge won't use it. Tom confronts Anthony Kavanagh directly. He walks onto the drilling floor with the archaea sample, with the images, with everything. He lays it all out. He says exactly what the science means. He tells Kavanagh that the drilling has opened a hydrothermal vent, that superheated water is pouring into the Arctic Ocean, that the sea ice is already failing, that if they don't stop drilling right now, immediately, the Greenland glacier will collapse, the Gulf Stream will shut down, and the Northern Hemisphere will freeze over. A new ice age.